This is a James Poe Artistry Consultant Moment. I want to share something with you about your duty as a citizen. Okay. And I hope this really helps all who inquire. And it's this. Did you know, even down to this day, and I verified it before I even came on here to say it, but did you know that even in the military, because one, I was talking about how good you eat when you are in the military, but that I know that's not what the military is for. Okay. But what I do want you to know is that, there is something called a conscientious objector. And that's why you will find people who normally do their responsibility, even at a young age, to register, for civil service, if you will, for the draft, if you will. There are actually some countries and lands that actually have a requirement of so many years or maybe 1 year of actually service, okay, in the military. And I'm going to share something with you because people who are conscientious objectors, they normally would not sign up or go beyond the registering for the draft aspects of things because their spiritual and faith conscience just won't allow them to even defend themselves. Not that they're pacifists, but to even defend themselves to the point where they literally have to take somebody else's life. See, some people learn self-defense to the point of what? So they can get away, but not to go on the offensive. You see, there's even a old law that they used to call "Make My Day" law. That if somebody broke in your house, and crossed that window pane, one leg in, one leg out, and you happen to use some type of weapon to disable them, but they actually die from that weapon, the joke used to be, you better go and push that other leg inside your house and not outside, because then it could actually turn right back around and just say you was manslaughter. So my whole point, I'm giving you the frame of mind that they're in, that it's one thing to defend themselves or what have you. It's another thing to actually, like I said, take extra steps that really saying you're going to learn war. You're going to really learn how to kill persons, and you're going to kill persons. See, and something like that, affects the conscience of many persons who have started studying spiritual books on that level. And it's interesting still, even in some of those lands, depending on what your background is, even that registration, pay very close attention to this, doesn't apply to already a certain group or class of persons. It's almost like, if I can use the expression, the Levitical priesthood from the Bible days. Okay. See, I want you to keep that in mind so you can still see that it still wouldn't necessarily always apply to everyone. But this is what I want to tell you. Did you know even in the United States Army that down to this day, a person can go in the military, whether they, because they normally do have some type of education with them, a certificate or what have you. But persons who actually become chaplains, did you know that they are not even assigned a weapon? See, everybody goes in the military, gets assigned their own weapon that they're supposed to take care of. And yet chaplains don't even get that. They do not participate in battlefield strategies or anything of that nature. All of theirs have to deal with all on a religious, spiritual type of routine in their life. You see, no fighting at all. Now, what I want to share with you now is even in some lands, persons may have to register for the draft or what have you, but they are at least given an option. And that option is, okay, since you will not perform these type of military exercises and learning these type of defense methods or techniques or what have you, then for that time period, you have to do some type of civil service. And I mean, that could be cleaning parks, that could be doing all sorts of stuff. But I just thought I would relate that to you because there's an option. And why should that option be there? Well, I'm going to share something with you. It was once a very high-ranking military officer. And he was talking to someone who wasn't, barely had any rank at all. But they were talking about, briefly about maybe Vietnam and some other types of things where friendly fire went on. And he was talking about the reason why, even though he has command and authority, he basically tried to treat every soldier with still dignity, even as a soldier, even if he's barking out orders. So, you won't really hear him, he certainly wasn't like a drill sergeant type person. It didn't mean that he couldn't get upset. But the whole point is that was not his routine to be the same way a drill sergeant was. Drill sergeant, they talk about you, always say they talk about your mama and your daddy until you can go get your daddy. No, but the whole point is this. He was mentioning how you have to treat persons still a certain way, because if you put them to a point or put their state of mind, so to speak, in question, so to speak, and you put them in a situation, you might want to be careful that all of a sudden it doesn't turn into friendly fire. And do you know what friendly fire is? Well, I'll let you look that up for yourself. Well, I brought that up to say the same thing about persons who are conscientious objectors. See, the whole point is if you force such persons like that, individuals like that, to engage in something of that nature, and then people say, well, that is still your civil duty or what have you, but then you're actually going against their conscience on that nature where they actually feel like they're just doing something against God. You just don't know what effect it'll end up having on that person, even being placed in that situation. You see, at the very least, you still really wouldn't be able to have the confidence that that person would still not freeze up or what have you under fire. And then what happens then? Well, it affects the rest of the unit. So you don't want to make somebody or guilt trip somebody into saying, I'm either going to put you in prison or not, because what is that doing? It's just putting more money on the taxpayers. But think about this. Instead of putting more money on the taxpayers in that way, if there is some type of requirement like they have in some lands, is that civil service worth it? Is it valuable? You better believe it's valuable, you see. So that was just a thought, and that's all I'll just share with you today. Take care.